Celsius should definitely sponsor me. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Chandler, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you guys about the 11 books that I read in the month of May. 11 books is crazy for me. So normally I would say I read from like 3 to 7 books a month, and 7 is definitely like on the larger side, but this month I read 11 books. It's kind of surprising to me because this month I finished school and I had all my finals, so I feel like you would think I would read less, but last May I actually read 10 books, so maybe May is just a huge month of reading for me, and I actually challenged myself this month to read 11 books and beat my previous record of most books read a month, which before was 10, so now it's 11. We'll see if we can beat that sometime this summer. And you might be wondering, like, as a student and stuff like that, how do you read 11 books in 1 month? And my secret is I read a lot of audiobooks, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I know a lot of people think like audiobooks aren't real reading, but I totally think they are. So I did read a lot of audiobooks. I read 2 books on my phone as like ebooks, I think, and then I have some physical books as well. So we're just gonna start off at the beginning of the month with the first book that I read, and that was The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegmund Broca. And what did I give this book? We should like look at my Goodreads. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It follows these 2 people who used to be like co-writers, but they kind of broke apart and don't write together or do anything together anymore. But then their contract tells them they have to write 1 more book together. So they go and spend some time together in, I think it was Florida, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But like in a beachy tropical setting, and it's a romance, and they kind of, you know, fall in love during that time they spend together, and I really enjoyed this book. I liked how it was dual POV, so you could kind of get both of their perspectives, but overall I would call this a really solid romance book. I had a super fun time reading it, and it definitely gave all of the summer vibes, and I actually am going to be making a video very soon about summer book recommendations and also the books I want to read this summer, so stay tuned for that. But I also don't just make book videos, I make tons of other types of videos. But anyways, that was this book. Then I listened to the audiobook of The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and this was the last book in the Inheritance Games trilogy, and I gave this book 3 stars. To be honest, I can't remember like a ton about this book specifically, and I can't really explain it to you without explaining the other books. This is a YA mystery trilogy. It has a subplot of romance, but it's mystery. For me at least, I felt that everyone overhyped this trilogy, because I think I gave the first book like 4 stars, and then after that the second and third were 3, I believe. I don't remember exactly, but I know overall to me this is kind of like a 3-star series. I had a good enough time reading it, but I wouldn't ever like reread it, but I might recommend it like sometime. I don't know. Then the next book I read as an ebook on my phone, and if you're wondering like how I do that, I use the app Libby and I borrow them from my local library, so that's how that works. But I read Shadow and Bone, which is the first book in a trilogy. The reason I decided to start this trilogy is because I really want to read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and those are set in the same world as Shadow and Bone. I've heard it's better to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy first before going into the Six of Crows duology. I know you don't like have to or anything, but since I wanted to read both anyways, I just decided to start with Shadow and Bone. And I really liked this book. I give it 4.25 stars. This follows a girl named Alina Starkov, and she basically possesses like powers and things like that that she did not know she had before, and she basically is like set on this mission to like kind of try to save the world, I guess. But then all these different things are like thrown her way. I don't know how to explain this book, to be honest. Just trust me that it was really good. It also does have a subplot of romance. It's definitely not heavy on the romance at all though, so don't go into it thinking that's what it is. It's very action-packed and stuff like that. It did get a little bit confusing to me at times, but I'm currently reading the second book, Siege and Storm, and it's still a little bit confusing, but I think it's still just as good. So I highly do recommend this trilogy. I mean, we'll see how the second and third book go, but I know a lot of people say to like skip this trilogy because it's not very good, but I personally really enjoyed the first book, and I'm so excited to continue with it. Next, I kind of wanted a book with like a murder mystery vibe, and I didn't really know what to read, and I thought about the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, which I read last year, and then I realized that that actually has a prequel novella that I never read, so I decided to pick it up. The events in the novella take place before the trilogy happens. The main girl, Pip, goes to this murder mystery party, and like things start to go weird, and it's just really short book. It was probably 150 pages. I read it in like an afternoon. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. But overall, I would say if you do want to read the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, to read this novella first. Definitely you don't need to, but it kind of sets things up for what happens in the first book and kind of gives you a background, so I would recommend it. Then I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and this is a memoir. I actually read a memoir, I think it was last month as well. That was Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. And I decided, I know I rated that memoir, but I've decided from now on I'm just like not gonna rate memoirs because I feel like it's not fair to rate someone's life experience. Like, I feel like it's kind of mean. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. This book just kind of recounts Jeanette McCurdy's life. And if you don't know who she is, she plays Sam in Sam and Cat. She was also in iCarly and Victorious, possibly, I think. I don't know. But I loved Sam and Cat and iCarly growing up, so it was really interesting to see what her life was actually like behind the scenes. And she had a really rough life, especially when it came to her mom. She just talked about a lot of really interesting stuff in this book. Hi. And it kind of talks about child actors. Hi, baby. Yeah, I really would recommend this book. But if you do read it, definitely make sure you know it has a lot of sensitive subjects. Then I read The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren, and I gave this book 4 stars originally, but I think I'm gonna bump it down to like a 3.5. It was a really good book, but definitely nothing like special. Like, I definitely enjoyed the roughest draft more than I enjoyed this. This book follows Olive, and her twin sister is having a wedding. All of a sudden, her twin sister and her groom get sick, so they can't go on their honeymoon, and it's like unrefundable, so she tells Olive to go on it. And the groom's brother also goes on it. They have to pretend to be dating for this honeymoon, so it's like fake dating. And their relationship is just so sweet, and it like follows them on their honeymoon and like all the adventures they get to go on and stuff like that. Overall, really summary good book, and I would recommend it. Out of the 11 books I read, I had 1 5-star, and that is the next book I'm gonna talk about. And I have been putting this book off forever. I bought it like a year ago, and I knew I was gonna love it, so I don't know why I didn't read it, but I'm so glad I finally did. And that is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. And this book is so powerful and so good. This book follows the story of Bree, who has had some really traumatic things happen in her past, and then there's also Archer, who, oh, there's my other dog, who has also had some bad traumatic things happen in his past. Because of something that happened to him, he cannot speak, so that's why it's called Archer's Voice. This is a small town romance between Bree and Archer is just like the sweetest guy ever, and I really enjoyed their story. It is just so emotional and so powerful, and I loved it. I definitely will be rereading this sometime. Okay, this one's a little different, but for my Spanish 3 class, we actually read a book in Spanish, and I thought, you know, why not include it as a book I read, because I did indeed read it. Even though it was like less than 100 pages, I read it, and it was in Spanish. It's Vida y Muerte en la Mara Salvatrucha. This book basically recounts the story of a boy who moves from El Salvador to live in Los Angeles, and he kind of gets caught up in this gang, and it's kind of his story with that and how it affects everyone around him. And he's kind of just like recounting his whole life. And I actually really enjoyed this book. I would give it 4 stars. It was really good, really interesting. If you're like an intermediate level Spanish speaker, I would recommend this book for you. Definitely like expanded my vocabulary and stuff like that, and it was pretty easy to comprehend. Then I read The Cousins by Karen M. McManus, and I gave this book 2 stars. This is a thriller book, and it's about all these cousins that basically get called to work for their grandma during the summer, but they have like never met their grandma before, so it's like kind of sketchy. But overall, I don't remember the plot twist in this book, and that tells you I didn't like it, because I literally read this like a week and a half ago. This book just did not do it for me. I overall just really didn't like the writing style, so I probably won't read any other Karen M. McManus books. My camera's about to die, so I'm going to go through the last 2 books pretty quickly. First one is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, and this is her newer release. I think it was like last August she released it, but I gave this 4.25 stars, really enjoyed it. It's about Bee and Levi. It's a Grumpy Sunshine book, and they both work for NASA, and they kind of are forced to work together for this project, but they're kind of like rivals, and they don't want to work together, but it's basically their romance story, and I really enjoyed it. 4.25 stars. I would talk more about it, but my camera's literally on the verge of dying. And then I listened to the audiobook of Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney, and this is a thriller. It's basically about this married couple who win a little vacation trip up in like the mountains in the middle of nowhere for like a week, and the wife thinks this could save their marriage. But then once they're up there, some weird things start happening, and I did not guess any of the plot twists. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to read some more Alice Feeney books. I've also read His and Hers by her. which was good. So yeah, I rated this book 4 stars and I would highly recommend it. That's all for the books that I read in May. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you do want to see the summer book recs video, and I'm gonna post so many summer videos this summer, so make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this one. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!